You know that constant pressure to be in perfect health? That feeling where even one tiny thing going wrong feels like a massive failure? Well, today we're diving into this incredible Japanese philosophy that flips that whole idea on its head. It suggests that real, lasting health doesn't come from avoiding sickness, but from actually embracing it. Let's get into it.
So we're basically taught to see health through one lens, Mubyō Sokusai. That's the all-out pursuit of a flawless, 100% healthy body. It's the ideal, right? But there's this other path, Ichibyō Sokusai, which is all about building resilience and finding stability, not through perfection, but through imperfection. It's really the difference between chasing a fragile dream and building a robust reality.
And this really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if this whole modern obsession with being 100% healthy, with having zero ailments, what if it's not just a little unrealistic, but is actually dangerous? What if it's setting us all up to fail? Well, this is where a much wiser path comes into play. It's the philosophy of Ichibyō Sokusai, which literally translates to one ailment, long life. Now, I know that sounds completely backward, but stick with me, because getting your head around this could totally change the way you think about your own well-being. So what is it exactly? Well, Ichibyō Sokusai is this idea that having a small, manageable chronic issue, think of it like a little check engine light for your body, actually makes you more careful. It forces you to be more mindful of your health. And because you're always tuned in, you can actually end up living a longer, more stable life than someone who just assumes they're invincible.
But to really appreciate how brilliant this is, we first have to unpack the problem with the alternative. Let's dig into why chasing that so-called perfect health, or Mubyō Sokusai, is actually a pretty big risk.
Okay, so chasing perfection has at least 3 major pitfalls. First, if you think you're perfectly healthy, you're way more likely to blow off those subtle little warning signs your body sends you. Second, you get caught in this all-or-nothing trap, where one slip-up makes you feel like a total failure, so you just give up on your healthy habits altogether. And finally, the sheer pressure of trying to be perfect 24/7 just creates a ton of stress and anxiety.
All right, so how do we actually put Ichibyō Sokusai into practice? It all starts with step 1, find your watchman. This is all about picking one of your minor chronic issues and completely reframing it. It's no longer a nuisance. It's now your body's own personal security guard.
And here's the playbook. First, you define your 5% sensor. This is just a recurring symptom, maybe a stiff neck or that mid-afternoon fatigue. When it flares up even just a tiny bit, say 5%, that's your alarm bell. Second, you start talking to it differently. Instead of complaining, you thank it for the heads up. And third, you create a little acceptance ritual, something small every day to acknowledge it without letting it become who you are. And get this, the author of our source material gives this amazing personal example. Their Sokusai ailment is migraines. They say that because of these migraines, they've become way more aware of their health than people who feel perfectly fine all the time. The migraine isn't a curse. They call it their most excellent resident watchman. How cool is that? Okay, so once you've hired your watchman, it's time for step 2, master self-regulation. This is where you learn to use those signals from your body to act proactively, instead of just waiting to react when things get really bad. Let's see how that works. This step has 3 key moves. When your 5% fencer goes off, you hit the 80% rule reset. You just scale back your effort and focus to about 80% for the next few hours. Then, instead of fighting the symptom, you practice its inverse trigger, so the opposite behavior. And this is crucial. You keep a prediction log so you can start connecting the dots between your actions and your symptoms and eventually prevent them entirely. And that brings us to this really important number, 80%. This is the absolute heart of self-regulation. See, the secret to avoiding burnout isn't to go full throttle until you crash and burn. No, it's having the wisdom to just scale it back a little to 80% before you hit empty. That gives you room to recover while you keep on going. So here's what a simple prediction log might actually look like. The idea is so straightforward. You just jot down the symptom, think about what might have triggered it, and then plan a preventative action for next time. So a mild headache after staring at a screen for hours? Maybe next time you do a proactive eye massage. It's all about learning the unique language your body speaks. And again, the author shows us exactly how this works in the real world. They use their headache log to predict flare-ups, so when they see a trigger is on the horizon, like a big change in the weather, they take preventive action. This simple habit lets them stay one step ahead of the pain. It's genius. And that brings us to the final, and honestly the most profound step,
Step 3, embrace imperfection. This is where you really transform your whole relationship with your ailment and turn it from a weakness into a genuine source of strength.
This is a total mindset shift. You start to realize that knowing your limits actually makes you tougher and more sustainable than someone who's just reckless with their health. You begin to see your ailment not as a burden, but as a gift, a built-in reminder that keeps you from burning out. And your goal changes. It's no longer about the absence of illness, it's about the consistency of monitoring.
And just look at the result. The author says that when their migraines first started, they were deeply depressed. But today, they're actually grateful. This whole new approach and perspective has completely transformed their life for the better. I mean, what an incredible journey, right? From despair all the way to gratitude. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together and do a quick recap of this incredibly powerful system for building a more sustainable life, all based on this Ichibyō Sokusai philosophy. It really just boils down to these 3 simple steps. Step 1, you identify your personal watchman, that little ailment that's going to keep you honest. Step 2, you learn to use its signals to master self-regulation so you can dodge burnout. And step 3, you turn that entire practice into a deep source of self-acceptance and true resilience. So here is the big idea, the main takeaway. Stop chasing the ghost of perfect health. Instead, learn to listen to your body, embrace the messages it sends you, and use that wisdom to play the long game of real, sustainable well-being. And the end result of all this? A more robust and sustainable life. Not a life that's magically free of discomfort, but one that is so much stronger and more mindful because of it. And that leaves us with one final question for you to really think about. What's your watchman? What's that small, chronic thing in your own life? And what's the 5% signal it's trying to send you? Because just recognizing it might be the first step to a completely new way of living. Thanks for joining me.